We're recording. Howdy.
Is
Hi.
this the Space 1999 show?
Yeah.
We're gonna zone it first. I don't know. What do you all want to do the space one first?
Well, are you trying to do two? Because I don't know if I have that much time to do
Well,
two.
I'm assuming Mission to Moonbase Alpha is gonna be like a 15-minute podcast.
Okay, I am
Oh.
completely unprepared for both of these podcasts. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, I didn't
'cause
prepare for season 4.
This-
It's like, why bother? I just need to look at a list.
I haven't even given any thought to anything because I've just been running around all weekend.
That's
and
fine.
I'm still running around.
Well, let's zone it then, and we'll see where we're at. But I feel like you
Yeah.
know that clip, the Moonbase Alpha, anyway, right? You've got it memorized.
I got it memorized.
I watched it
can
this morning.
Easily look it up somewhere.
Yeah, it's 6 minutes long. And so, like I
It's
said, I was
6 minutes. It's a short read.
tomorrow. The what's the next to last? The Immunity Syndrome comes out. I was like, well, hell, I'll just put out the Dorcons in a mini episode for Moonbase Alpha like on Friday because that's actually September 13th. So, and that ends.
Okay.
That puts a bow on it. So yeah, I mean, obviously we're doing more. So.
I mean, I have a personal story about it because I was there the day it premiered.
Right, so you didn't even have to watch it again, really. So
yeah.
But I guess we will zone it. Hopefully my voice doesn't sound too blown out. I think fall is in the air, maybe.
Okay, hopefully I won't get any strange emergency phone calls in the next hour.
The infamous Maddie was hacking up mucus all Sunday.
Oh, did you get some of it in your mouth?
No, we weren't that close. But yeah, no, he was just like I think you can live in Japan a few years without the cedar screwing you over, and then like after a few years it just starts to, and maybe he's now reached that point. So
Weird.
Oh,
how-
cedar pollen?
yeah, how they when they logged all the forests in Japan, they replanted cedar like everywhere, and now they're highly regretting it.
Can
So-
imagine.
Yeah. Well, you guys are both Northern California. Is that a lot of cedar? That seems like a cedary place.
We had a cedar tree in my yard when I was growing up. It was one of those where like it had to be taken out for like a gas line or something.
Hey,
But like the cedar tree is like the official tree of Lebanon. So my dad was like, we have to have a cedar tree or
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
I
I'm
think
gonna
there's
say,
still a
but out
cedar
of this
chest.
Atlanta, you're Atlanta, you're not California.
Yeah,
Yes,
well, we had a
yes,
cedar tree.
California people.
Raise your hand if you had a cedar tree in your yard when you were growing up. There
My
you
yard
go.
had no trees, remember?
I had a palm tree and some mulberry trees, I
Mm.
guess.
Oh, that's pretty
Oak
cool.
trees are the bane of my existence here because I'm allergic to oak trees.
Now the other house the family house has like the Japanese garden trees. How awesome is that? And I don't take care of
Yeah.
them. You have to have a
I'd
license.
rather have that.
I guess you don't have to have a license to take care of them, but there is a license to show that you know what you're doing and can take care of them. I don't think anyone's going to arrest you for pruning a tree. Oh,
I mean,
You're a
if you were a good
certified tree
son-in-law,
owner.
you would learn.
mm.
My son-in-law never learned how to prune the trees. Like a
Mm.
like casting your like making your in-laws talk like
That's
an
exactly
angry
what they sound like. That's amazing.
mid-century bitter mid-century wife.
Let's see. I'm gonna bring a list up of Twilight Zone episodes.
He
when I
never makes
remember-
me a bento box when I go to work.
My wife and daughter make the bento boxes.
It's because my no good son-in-law never learned how. I can't do that. That accent's so hard. The mid-Atlantic.
Well, if you want to be in the old Vic, you're gonna have to do it.
I do. And I will.
Let's see. I'm lost. I'm looking for.
I mean,
my-
there's always
Matt
those
has so much
articles.
trivia for this episode. There's
That's
so much
right.
trivia that Matt's gonna bring. He's gonna name everybody again and rename everything they did. It's just gonna be like a retake.
Yeah. There's always
Right,
those
Matt?
articles about like Christopher Lloyd started acting when he was like 52. So I just have that in my back pocket. Where I'm like, maybe I'll just be Christopher Lloyd.
Damn, he was
Where
like
is
in
my
he was in his 50s when he was doing Taxi.
Think so, yeah.
Oh,
Pretty
I
close to
figured it
that.
out. Well, for some reason, the season 4 Twilight Zone list was in my downloads folder and not my documents folder. That explains why I was confused. Mhm. Yeah, I'm still too lazy to crack a Word on my computer, so it just shows up in this like you can't do anything.
Oh,
But I
never
guess-
mind. I must be thinking of somebody else. He was acting when he was 19.
Yeah, I was gonna say 40s maybe when he was in Taxi. I don't think
It is-
50.
You know, he really, really, really broke through and Back to the Future, but
Wait,
like
what did you say
nobody.
about
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd? Okay, well, I wasn't paying attention. I was looking
I
for my
thought he
Twilight
was
Zone list.
I thought he was one of those people who started acting in his 50s.
Oh, no. You're thinking of what's his name? Alan Rickman, maybe. He was like 42 and Die
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah, Die Hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but if I have to do something where John McTiernan pushes me off of a platform to get a good shot, then I'm not in. Forget it.
I
No
don't know
way.
if this was fake news or not, because celebrity deaths get reported and it's sometimes not true. But was
I
the
think
James
that's
Earl
confirmed.
Jones thing?
That's
James Earl
it's at
Jones?
Oh,
least on
yeah.
CNN. So yeah,
real?
CNN.
Oh, that's
says it.
everywhere. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know how to feel about that because everyone is really, really sad, but I'm like, he's
He's
93.
93.
And
Yeah.
apparently he's
What
been
do you
kind of
expect?
non-communicative for quite a while. I'm like, I I want to just be happy, but I'm not. So I'm confused.
Well, what was other, like what Roger Corman was a bummer and he was like 99. You're like, yeah, of course, but it's still a bummer. Mel Brooks is still kicking. That'll be a bummer. He's what is Mel Brooks now? Like 100?
He's pretty close to that.
I think he's like 99 or something.
Yeah. But I'll be
Turn off
bummed
my
out
phone.
when Mel Brooks dies. So
I mean, he definitely proved that just because you have the story of like your wife dies and then you die right away, even if your wife is as hot as Anne Bancroft, you can still carry on.
I heard yesterday someone saying that the Tower of Terror in Florida there was one concept of Hotel Mel, so Mel was going to be throwing you up and down the elevators in that version.
I'm trying to picture how he would be throwing me up and down unless there's like telekinesis.
Like he's an insane bellhop or something, and then you encounter like people that live in the hotel, but they're all Mel Brooks, so it's like Mel Brooks having an affair with Mel Brooks, that sort of thing.
I'm fine with that.
That would have been awesome. I mean, obviously, I love the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. I love the Tower of Terror in Japan, which is not Twilight Zone. So yeah. I mean,
if they retheme the one in Florida, I'm going to be really upset because I've only been
what
on
if they do the Guardians?
I don't care. Fuck that. I mean, cool. Okay, fine, cool. But like, no, I don't. Like my love for Guardians of the Galaxy is like not 1/10 of my love for Twilight.
Also, they already have a Guardians ride there, so they don't really need to. I'm gonna guess.
Okay, I'll give you one. If they retheme it to like Tales from the Crypt and just put like boobs in it, but it's the same ride, I would be fine with that.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't have to be boobs, but it's like, if they made it more R-rated, but
I would like to see a theme park attraction that like they don't like
Tales of the boobs.
Yeah, like they really like instead of like you must be this tall, you must be 18 to ride this ride. Maybe if they do a Deadpool ride, it'll probably be that, right?
Yeah, there is no chance that will ever happen, but I wish
he's in the park now doing story time, and apparently it's very bawdy. Like,
but you can that you can technically be.
He was all over D23, so
yeah. You can be that character without say cursing or talking about sex. It's just like that's just vaudeville, right? It's just vaudeville.
Yes, he's just doing vaudeville basically. Yeah. Okay, let's zone it. Brian, you really want to have Space 1999 for the zone? You can. I don't care.
Oh, that's right. We're doing that, are we? Okay. I'll switch it up a little bit here.
I'll just leave my Cookie Monster back there. I should go buy the Pissed Off Poo. I found a Pissed Off Poo.
Well, to be fair, there are episodes that were in space in this season. Or were about space anyway. It's not in space.
Yeah.
Quite a few, actually.
Excuse me. He's thinking about it. Of course, you just have space. Sure, why not?
I realized that I know exactly what my favorite episode is from the season, and I already knew. I just forgot.
Virtual backgrounds. Yeah, most mine are Space 1999.
The Incredible World of Horse Ford. That is Mark's favorite episode.
Right.
The one I got.
I still have the Peaceful Valley car in but I'm not going to bother with it. I don't really do backgrounds for this one anyway. Okay, leave a 5-second gap. I will start this show then. Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's where we delve into all of the episodes of the Twilight Zone and beyond. Today, a whole lot of them. 18 episodes, is it? The 18 episodes of Season 4 will be in full consideration today for the Season 4 Hoedown, y'all. This is Matt here. We have a rotating, spinning Jenny of guests today. Mark's trying to talk.
Mark, four-timer
what?
season, what do you call this? It's roundup, four-timer roundup on the
Hoedown.
spinning Jenny.
I called it a hoedown this time.
Four-timer hoedown champion.
I had to look up how to spell hoedown when I was making the meeting because I was like, am I just spelling it offensively? But no, that is how it's spelled. So a whore down. I don't know.
now you've done
it. Sean's here. Hi.
Hey, what's up? How you doing,
Brian.
peeps? Is this an episode of Space 1999?
I don't
feel
even
like I
know
got the
anymore.
crew here.
I don't even know anymore. It is the recording slot for that, so that's why Brian's confused. Hello,
That's
Brian.
my confusion.
Brian doesn't.
Hi, I'm Brian. I've been on this show before. You probably remember me from such episodes as the season 2 hoedown and the season 3 hoedown.
Oh, I guess we weren't hanging out for the one hoedown. Okay.
And the Incredible World of Horse Ford, like you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were on with me for Jess-Belle.
Oh yeah.
That's true. We were put together with
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't quite remember who was on what episode, and the list I'm looking at is incorrect because my Word is still locked on this computer, so I can't change anything on the list. So
we gotta get you a cloud.
It says Sean was miniature, which you specifically did
No.
not want.
No,
I went off of that.
But that's what it says on my notes.
I got stuck with that.
What else
You
is
guys,
wrong?
everyone else here was on Jess-Belle, which was my favorite episode of the season.
Oh, okay. We'll just rock
Nice.
that out straight up then. Favorites of the season. Let's see. For me, wow, it looks like you have different hair. Sorry, Brian just put Rod Serling
Changed my
directly
hair.
behind him, and his ears got way
Giant
bigger.
ears.
That was pretty exciting. Okay, sorry. This is a great
Struggling
audio
for a-
podcast.
Picture in picture.
My pictures for this audio podcast I'm struggling with. Okay.
Well, Mark, I guess you just spilled your beans a little bit, but I guess the first question should be more like, how did we feel with the hour-long forced experiment of season 4 of The Twilight Zone? Was it okay?
Long.
Too long. You're on page too long.
Yep, I would have sacrificed anything that was any benefit that was given to any of these episodes from that length. I would have sacrificed to cut the rest of them down.
I will say, just as the guy, doing this podcast and needing to watch 1 or 2 of these every week, I'm suddenly, wow, I suddenly have a lot more time. It just that 25 minutes makes things feel less busy to me, which is kind of nice. Because I guess it's like now I can do like 2 things at night because I get home from work pretty late, so and then get up relatively early to do these podcasts. So I only have like an hour and a half to watch stuff. So yeah. So my own
simplify that, yes.
my schedule prefers this 25-minute thing, but
You just get a feeling from watching a short Twilight Zone. I mean, short meaning regular length.
right.
That it's like it feels like it just always overstays it. Well, it's welcome at this time, and obviously there were some of these where they had like enough time to really prepare the scripts, but there are some of them they just threw into production and then like put a subway murder tacked on at the beginning, which is like cool, but also it doesn't, that doesn't really fit right that well.
Or like the baseball scene in the bar. Yeah, it's like kind of funny, but it's kind of weird, and it takes away from the platonic ideal of a great 25-minute episode.
And it doesn't fit. Whereas usually, regardless of any issues I have with any Twilight Zone episodes from the first 3 seasons, there generally isn't stuff there that doesn't fit.
Okay. Well, maybe let's go around, and I'm just curious what people think is like the worst offender of the 45-minute thing and the one that works the best. I guess straight off, like Mark, we did the 30 Fathom Grave, and I think we were both like, this was
you just
supposed
took
to
the
be
words out of my mouth.
25 minutes, and it's not 25 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think that's the worst episode of the season, but I think it is like the worst offender of this is too long.
Yeah. Brian, any dissenting opinion on that?
I'm trying to remember if I actually got to watching that one this time around. I do remember. Yeah, there's just a lot of creepy things going on underwater, and they kept on going on underwater.
Ping, ping, ping.
Who could be
The
down
ping.
there? Someone who
Yeah.
dies damn hard. It's like, what? Okay.
I got a question about that episode though. They're calling what do they say? Munster or muster on me? They're calling muster on me.
Muster, yeah.
Was anybody familiar with that phrase when they heard it?
I from like military things, I feel like you're watching an old timey military movie.
Yeah,
Someone
isn't
says
it
that.
when you called the troops together, it's a muster, like in the
It's
morning
not
when
in
they
my
get
working
up.
vocabulary, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not an everyday word for sure.
Yeah.
And there's passing muster, and I sort of assumed it was adjacent to that, but I didn't know exactly how it related to
Are we
passing
passing
muster.
oh, you're passing muster because you're getting together. Because I was thinking
Like
of
how we
passing the
just
mustard,
said,
like the Great
no,
Coupon.
like how I just said that this episode doesn't pass muster.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
people
good.
mishear it as mustard, and then they, that propagates, and it's becomes one of those things that people say, and you go, "That's not what that means."
Yep.
Yeah.
Would you agree
Definitely.
though?
Literally. Sorry,
Real quick, to go back to the length of these episodes, would you agree that more than not needed the time length? Like more than half the episodes needed that 50, 52 minute.
That's
Like,
kind of the question on the table,
I
right? We're
would-
trying to figure that out.
I'm looking
I
back
would
over.
disagree.
For me, ones that maybe, well, like I said, add 10 minutes to a new exhibit, and you've got a William Castle film, right? So that one actually add 10 minutes. Put in one more murder. You can put that in the theater as a double bill exploitation, right? With something else. On Thursday, we leave for home. I think for me, I think I might be alone on that, but I actually thought that one like earned its 50-minute running time. Yeah, we're saying
I agree.
45 minutes. We
Yes.
should say 50 minutes.
Just like
Yes, 50. I would think so.
here's an
yeah.
arguable one. Do you think Death Ship should have been 25 minutes or 50 minutes?
I was thinking of that one when I said on Thursday we leave from home, but I think you could boil that down to a cool 25 if
Yeah.
you wanted to.
Maybe controversial. I feel like it could go either way.
Mm.
With that
Like-
one specifically, like a couple of these, I think. What's another one? There's
I mean, we
another
just
one.
got a lot more of them all yelling at each other, which was kind of fun, right? But it probably didn't have
Yeah.
to be there. You could have had a nice tight episode of Death Ship with that.
Miniature.
Cliffordville, I felt needed to be an hour because I don't think you were going to be
Yeah.
able to tell everything in 25 minutes. The whole going back in time and failure.
Yeah,
and-
it was lengthy. You had to do a lot of time travel, and yeah.
Yeah, I honestly that there's that little back end of the season, which one of these is going to be my least favorite, maybe, where it's was it I Dream of Jeannie of Leia? I think of Cliffordville, Horace Ford. Like none of those really like I think landed for
Wow.
me in the
I'm
end.
surprised you didn't name the Baird or the Bard. I always get confused. How do you say that?
The
Baird?
Bard.
The
Bard.
Bard. Yeah.
I
I always try to add an I in it.
That one's so whack. Like it almost like I said in the podcast that the thing that just killed it for me was the music, which made me angry and wanted to punch Van Cleave.
I had to do a rewatch of that today just to see what you meant because it didn't absorb the first time for some reason. And then the second viewing ever that I had of it, and then I'm like, yeah, I see what you mean now. With the every note, it sounded like a Looney Tunes like episode.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it sounded
yeah.
like a cartoon where everything had to be accompanied by a little noise, a little bloop, a little bleep, or
I will submit that to me the episode that benefited the most from the extra time is He's Alive. And it's basically because that is a slow burn of a scary doom thing with a guy in the shadows emerging. So I think you could do that. I think that is the main one that sticks out in my head is like this is better for having the extra time. And Mute, I know people feel weird about the extra stuff in Mute, like basically the teacher stuff is tacked on, but I loved that was what elevated that episode for me as well.
And then in the podcast, that's what we talked about for half the time because I was like, oh, you can cut all the school stuff, but that was the most interesting stuff to talk about in the end. So I guess that means it should have been there.
Yeah, it would have been a perfectly good episode if they tightened it up, but still, I think those two episodes and Jess-Belle being my favorite, I pretty much just like every decision made there, even though I
felt Jess-Belle needed to be an hour.
Yeah,
I think you
I
could
was
have
going
did
to
it
say
in-
that one worked pretty
Yeah.
well for now.
and the new
one
exhibit.
The one I was staring at was the parallel because that seems like it was a half an hour episode that was already been done.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was too
way.
long to me.
And so
Another
doing it again
yeah,
for an hour seemed like overkill.
yeah.
It was
I
too
agree with you.
long, and you got what was going on immediately, and it never really developed, and then you just kind of get a happy ending out of it. That was not
Were there
terribly
any real
satisfying.
classic Twilight Zone twists in these episodes? Because, like you said, when you go in for 50 minutes, it's hard to not reveal the twist early.
It's not always about there are episodes like the classic what is it? It's a Good Life reveals the twist in the opening
Yeah.
the opening dialogue.
Yeah.
But
You could argue the new exhibit does it at the end, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here thinking of what
But
I mean, the actual twist of On Thursday We Lead From Home is, I mean, that one is mostly just like straight sci-fi, right? Until the end. And it
That's
has
a
like
really like psychological episode. I feel
right.
like
But then the
the,
end, I feel like the twist is when he kind of like suddenly regains his sanity and is like, oh crap, I'm stuck here, you know?
yeah.
it's like we have 4D chess going on here where they're trying to make the twists. You expect the twist, so what we're going to give you is actually there won't be a twist. Like
Right.
I'd say Passage on the Lady Anne almost qualifies as that. You sort of expect that they're going to get murdered or something, and it's like, nah, they just leave.
Yeah, for me that was actually that wasn't a bad episode, but maybe that was the most disappointing episode because the whole time during the season,
Oh,
I was
Yeah.
just
I
expecting that
love
was
that
going to be like
episode.
a weird ghost story, and there, like we said, there might be nothing supernatural about it. This might just be a bunch of old folks that bought the boat and are sailing off into oblivion, you know?
Yeah.
That's like my guilty pleasure episode of season 4, like that I rewatch the most. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but I just love Passage on the Lady Anne.
Well,
That's
you want
fun.
to be in the old timey cruise ship, so with all the bling.
You wanna like fantasize about being able to salvage a completely doomed marriage by
Yes.
taking a cruise. Yeah, that's
Yes.
a lot of people want to live that fantasy.
Hanging out with Gladys Cooper in a life floaty. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
But like
I'm
Printer's Devil, for instance, doesn't really have a twist. Like you pretty much know exactly what's happening the whole time. Still loved every second of it. You know,
You
it's
can't get
just
enough Burgess, you know. You just
No,
really
and I
can't.
feel like Beal disagree with me if you guys want to, because I know Time Enough at Last is probably his most beloved. I put this down as Burgess's best Twilight Zone episode.
I'd probably go with that. I mean, I
yeah.
I probably like the Obsolete Man better. I think you said you don't, but I like that episode
Yeah.
better. But I don't like Burgess Meredith in as much. So I mean, he's full penguin almost in Printer's Devil, which how can you not love that?
Everybody loves the cigar chomping devil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay, we talk about favorites. So Mark, what was your favorite episode this season?
It's Jess-Belle.
Yeah, he
Just
said.
because you
Actually.
said it twice, actually. Then that was number 3 then.
Didn't Mark like Jess-Belle? I think he liked Jess-Belle.
You like
Yeah.
Jess-Belle.
I want to hear Brian's
it's,
favorite episode.
Oh gosh. I kind of like oh, you got me on the spot, really.
Suspense is
can talk
palpable.
about
that.
There's not
I can
one that
talk
really
about
super
Jess-Belle.
jumps out at me. I mean, Jess-Belle's a good one. I'd put
Say
that in the
Jess-Belle
top.
to make Mark
I'm
happy.
saying
Jess-Belle,
I could
Jess-Belle.
just do this. I could just talk about it so you have time to think about it, because I didn't get a chance to mention that the pacing is completely perfect. You get twists and turns. Everyone's kind of doing everyone has their own little machinations. There's witchy stuff, there's animal transformations, there's murder, there's passion, there's betrayal. It's just great.
And
It's
Anne
soul
Francis
selling.
with dark
fun.
hair.
Yeah, dark hair.
Yeah, dark-haired Anne Francis.
Dark-haired Anne Francis, yes.
Hmm.
The lady who taught us to pronounce robot. And now she's
Robot.
teaching us how to pronounce curse.
Yes.
I tend to find myself leaning towards the performances or the actors who I like the most, because like a lot of us, I haven't really seeped in all these episodes because they're seldom seen, right? You have to go find them on media, and so even I haven't watched them that often.
I can relate to that, Brian, because I had to have like a little mini marathon last night today to kind of refresh, because I haven't seen season 4 as much as I've seen 1, 2, 3, and 5. You know,
Right. That's kind of my dilemma. I mean, I really liked Julie Newmar in of late I think of Clifford Field. I thought she was great in that, so that gives it a boost in
Yes.
my mind.
Yeah.
Even though the
Another great
premise is a
example.
little dumb, we're gonna send you back in time with your terrible mind, and you're not gonna remember anything, so it's pointless. It's like, actually, that was pretty funny. It's something
Yeah.
the devil would do to you. It's
I
like,
love that line too when he goes, "Have a cigar, Mr. Dietrich. Have a cigar."
ah,
Oh,
see.
it was a weird. We talked about this on the little chats we do on the Discord, which shout out to those if you're listening and you're on the Discord. We have those sometimes. Of late, I think of Cliffordville and The Incredible World of Horace Ford both had completely baffling performances from their leads. Like William Feathersmith with a weird makeup is wearing and Horace Ford is just like, no, just weird screaming man child who's
Man,
does
children.
he's on there.
Yeah,
He's
that
in there
was
a lot more too.
yeah,
than,
that was what made it so hard to watch it and try to talk about it. It's like this guy just is clearly got some sort of issue. And I don't know, in
yeah.
today's world, he would have gotten,
You know,
he might
that
have
was
gotten as far as he did, but it's like he would have gotten a lot of help, you know. He would definitely have a therapist or something.
we had two episodes where I felt it dealt with somebody that was like on the spectrum, even though Rod might have not been
Hmm.
looking at it like that. And I am going to say Miniature and Horse Ford. Those
Yeah.
are the two
Yeah.
episodes I feel like.
Same with
Yeah,
miniature.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't know
that
how he
checks out.
functioned in the world, but somehow he
Yeah.
did function in the world. Well, he's
Yeah.
still living with his mother or something, right? So I guess he didn't
Oh,
function
in
in the world.
miniature.
Yeah,
You
in
wondered how he
miniature.
had a in
Yeah.
Incredible World of Horse Ford. You
Yeah, I was
wondered how
wondering
this guy
where
had a wife. How do he
where
have
did
a
that
wife?
wife?
Yeah.
I mean,
Where
this
did she
might be
see him?
controversial or it might not be, but I kind of think Rod Serling was also on the spectrum. So
Hmm.
that could be why we keep seeing, like, look at this weird guy who's weird, and look at how actually he's an okay guy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's great that it's no, I am of the mind that many celebrities of the 20th century were on the spectrum, like Ed Sullivan and John Wayne and
There might have
Johnny
been.
Carson, and because it's like because it's you can't diagnose yourself with those
No.
things.
And yeah,
And they
I
just get explained away as like the misunderstood genius trope. And so, oh, he's just got a tortured mind, but is brilliant. And so,
Everybody
we
loves
can
an
deal with
idiosyncrasy.
his idiosyncrasies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Haven't some people even said
Nixon.
like Einstein was autistic or something like that?
It's
Yeah, I
possible.
could have been wrong
Thomas
about that, but I thought I heard
Jefferson.
that
I've
one.
heard it thrown on Thomas Jefferson
Yeah,
before.
Yeah.
Richard
What's the
Nixon,
deal with Hunter S.
JFK.
Thompson?
I
He
think
was
he
a
just did a
maniac.
ton of drugs.
Was it just drugs? Okay.
I think it might. Well, you never know because sometimes people mask things
Yeah.
with drugs. But I
Like-
Or
saw
they're
footage.
self-medicating, trying
Like
to
Sid
Yeah,
Barrett
function.
from
boy.
Pink
Yeah.
Floyd. Did he legitimately
Yeah.
go nuts, or did he just do too much acid? Same with Brian Wilson too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Well,
but he
you're a
was trying to cope with the hustle and bustle of the major label record system that did not exist when they were young. Major labels didn't exist until like 1963. So it's like all of a sudden there was no such thing as like millions of dollars for being in a band and multi-track recording and a guy putting a bowl of cocaine on the mixing board and like people and Charles Manson hanging out with your drummer and stuff. Like that didn't happen. It didn't happen in the 40s.
I like the notion of, legitimate insanity as opposed to what fake
I mean,
insanity.
honestly, it's like a combination. But
Yeah,
the Twilight Zone it's the early '60s. They have not put that into the equation. I
Mhm.
mean, Miniature
Well-
and Horace Ford. I'm now calling Robert Duvall's character Miniature because I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
He's miniature, just like
Yeah.
Tom Cruise's
That's
character
my
in
problem
Collateral
with
is Collateral.
That's
You
my
have to
problem
I
remember
thought
with
his
that
name was Top
season.
Gun. Wait a minute.
we've all seen people do too many drugs, right? But the idea that drugs make you insane is like completely manufactured by like the rope industry to stop you from buying hemp in 1935. It's just it's not like in most cases if you're not doing so well, then drugs won't necessarily make you better or worse, and then stopping doing drugs won't necessarily make you better or worse, even though obviously if drugs put a lot of stress on you, it can break your psyche, but that's
Break you.
yeah,
Break.
it will break your back.
I mean, Sergeant Pepper's
Yeah.
would still be a good album, but different choices would have been made probably.
I'm not really a fan. I'm sorry. I like Free Sergeant Peppers. I'm sorry.
Right. The White
everyone.
Album's a really good album, but sorry, went after
Yeah,
Sgt. Pepper's.
I
Okay.
prefer I prefer the White Album. Look, honestly, it's like Sgt. Pepper's is one of my least favorite of their albums. I feel
Revolver
like,
still would have been a really good album, but they would have made different choices.
yeah, maybe. I
I
mean,
just
maybe
had
they
to
would have just
find
been
the
a band
key.
for longer. You know,
Mhm.
maybe they wouldn't have like broken up. I don't know.
Mm.
No way to
Hey,
know.
Brian, did you have time to think about your favorite then? That was like 5 minutes of delaying tactics.
No.
Okay. Oh, I was supposed to think during that time. Okay.
Oh,
He was about to say
I'm
it.
just gonna see. I was just gonna keep on mentioning ones that I liked aspects of, but again, we're back to should have been 30 or 60-minute episode. I like No Time Like the Past. If they just focused on one story, but they did like what 2 or 3 trips back in the time.
yeah.
I think it would be interesting if
All in the
he
first
just
15 minutes though, and then they kind of
yeah.
dialed it in.
Like
And then you had to
let's
have
stick
like a
with the
little run.
Hiroshima one. Let's have him go back to Japan. Let's stick with that one and see how that one plays.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been really more interesting than I'm going to go back to this town and try not to burn it down with a lantern or something.
Well, remember he had 2 choices.
Mhm.
Also, President Garfield was going to be shot too.
Oh yeah,
And
Garfield.
he was like, "I'm not going to do anything about that." And then when he found out there was going to be a children's school burning, he's like, "You know what? I think I'm going to try to prevent that." Because he originally wanted to just live out in this time. He didn't
Yeah.
like the time period he was in, so he wanted to go back to and he thought he was going to stay there. But once he burned
Right.
down the school, he's like, "I can't. Well, I know too much. I can't do this."
I do like
But it was
that. I
again
mean,
like back.
that was the
It was
whole
like back
emotional
there,
intelligence
right?
thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like you know what the right choice is, but you just can't do it. It's too cold, you know?
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Well, I was just thinking like back there, it's like we discovered that you can't change, you know, the assassination of Blinken or whatever, but you can change other little things. That story didn't
You know
go in that
what?
direction.
Give yourself a limp. We learned that in walking distance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what?
can. Don't chase your younger self.
If James Garfield did die on a Monday, so maybe if he hadn't have died, then Garfield the cat wouldn't hate Mondays.
Hmm. Then
Maybe.
he'd
But
hate Wednesdays or
shabam.
something. I hate Wednesdays. I guess for me, I'm gonna say on Thursday we leave from home's probably my favorite. It just gave me the TOS Star Trek funsies watching that one.
And
So
I'm hearing no
Hmm.
episode. Like, we're still pretty early, but I'm hearing this episode not even being named, and this is like a top candidate for me. Valley of the Shadow.
That was
I
good.
love that episode.
that was good. I don't feel the need to put it quite on the top, but that in his image was. I mean, there are really good. Season 4 is so weird. Just
They're solid, but they're not super memorable or super like wow factor
I
trippiness.
don't know.
You'd
What
say.
blew my mind about Valley of the Shadow is like you could create anything. Like you create a gun, you create a sandwich, you can create a
Yeah.
piece of chicken. Like this machine could create. Like you just type it in the machine. It just
All you
prints
need is
out
this
whatever you
punch
want.
card, and you feed it in.
Yeah.
But you know what you can't create though?
What?
Trust.
Ah.
Mhm.
You know.
Sean, you want to tell us your favorite? I guess we got that out, Brian. He said no time like the past, and I'll take it.
I got a cheat here because I got 3 I can't pick from. It's on Thursday we leave from home, Valley of the Shadow, and the new exhibit. Those are
Okay.
kind of like it's really hard to pick between those 3. I do have ones that I like for other reasons, but these are like the top of the top that I feel like this is really good. Twilight Zone.
Well, I agree with at least one of those, don't I? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
all 3 of them are good. Yeah, In His Image is another one we haven't really talked about yet. That was, I thought, very
Well,
good. So
We can talk about things in order, like, you know,
we're not, are we?
we could though, and that would be the first one, wouldn't it?
Well, why don't we go Tripometer? And just as a little spoiler, I've already done the first 4 season 5 episodes, and so far have not given any of them particularly high Tripometer scores, which is interesting.
Mm.
I don't know if that's too much of a spoil, but yeah. No. This one, it's got some trippy ones. Yeah, there's some tripped out stuff here. So I feel like my A-B single would a really long single of 50-minute songs would be probably, A sides on Thursday, B sides Death Ship, because I do think Death Ship is maybe the trippiest in this season for me. I'm feeling my sci-fi
I agree. Death Ship is the one. Death Ship is the trippy one. That's
not being able to fully pass over.
Yeah.
It
Keep
could.
beating over.
Yeah, it could have had more visuals in it, but it did the thing. It did the job.
Can you stay? They were stuck in purgatory, weren't they? Like,
It looks
Maybe.
like.
Think
yeah.
so.
I mean, they're in a time loop basically, which I guess that could be purgatory. Purgatory suggests maybe they're in limbo. Purgatory suggests you're going to get out of it, and these guys don't seem like they're going to
Well,
be getting
Jack
out of it.
Klugman keeps thinking he's going to get out of it. That's why he keeps making everybody repeat the process. Like, no, we're going to keep doing it.
What is
Stupid
like
Klugman.
interesting to me, and probably it probably is not intentional, but it's sort of like they say that they're in a time loop and they say they've realized they're in a time loop. We don't actually see the time loop happen. So it's like, are they in a time loop? Like, what if something completely different happens? Or what if it's the first time? Or what if it's, the ambiguity of that intrigues me.
Yeah. Well, I like the subtleness that they're so mentally, like not famished, broken down at this point. Like they just like you assume they probably were a functional crew at some point in time, but now there's like on a subconscious level, they just can't handle it anymore. They still got to follow this guy that's keeping them in permanent twilight zone.
Yeah, their own twilight.
I mean, what's the alternative? Not existing? That's pretty scary.
Right. Well, maybe that's the goal, to leave this mortal plane, but they're stuck on their UFO, their
I gotta
saucer.
say,
Like, I guess I'm going to have to agree with Death shit being the trippiest because, yeah, not being able to know that you're dead, but not being able to fully pass over and know that you're not alive, but it's still like you're alive, but you're not alive, but you're dead. I'm confusing myself here. It's just, yeah, that's trippy.
I
That's
think
trippy.
in 1963, the parallel also might have rated as one of the trippiest, but that concept is now fully baked into pop culture, so it seems less trippy now.
Yeah, and I think if you're thinking doppelganger episodes, I thought Mirror Image was that's not season 4, but that was a better doppelganger episode because
Right.
you actually saw the person, you're like actually tripping out, you saw the double. Whereas in the parallel, you only heard at the very end that there was another Robert Gaines trying to cross over. You didn't actually see him. It could have been the same one the whole like it was, you didn't actually see it with your own eyes. You didn't see two different people.
Brian, what tripped you out? Anything we're missing?
Well, I'm going back to Valley of the Shadow. That idea of a secret society with high tech has always been kind of trippy to me. Remember the $6 Million Man in the Bigfoot episode?
Oh, I'm not seeing that.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, Steve Austin eventually confronts Bigfoot. Turns out Bigfoot's a robot, and he's run by aliens who live up in the Sierra Nevada somewhere. There's a secret base in the mountains, and that was like, whoa!
It all checks out. Okay.
7-year-old me, I was like, whoa. So the notion that they have this town, and like I said in the episode we were talking about, this has been done over and over again, like Eureka and other shows, but they have a secret town where secret things are happening. That's always found that very, very trippy. Like, I want to go out and find one of these places.
Yeah, I think we did a litany of them in that episode, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
but,
didn't we?
Then he has an invisible wall around his little house in Peaceful Valley. It's like
Yeah, Peaceful
can't break through.
Valley. You know how many valleys there are in California, names like that? California Valley, Grass Valley,
Yeah.
Peaceful Valley.
Grass Valley.
Grass Valley is up your direction, isn't it, Sean? I think it's up there in Northern California.
It's about 2 hours away from me, I think. Maybe 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. No,
There
yeah,
was
2 hours.
It's like a member of the Moody Blues lived there for most of his life. He just passed away last year.
I just had to check to make sure Fred Freiberger wasn't producing the Bigfoot episode, and he did not.
Okay.
I don't know if the Bigfoot episodes were like the jump the shark thing for $6 Million Man, where it's like, oh, really, we're going Bigfoot now?
Third season. So, I mean, third season, I'm sure somebody was thinking it, right?
Do we have fembots yet by then? I think at some point we had fembots in $6
No
Million.
idea.
Yeah,
I was such a casual watcher of that show. I don't remember details at all.
Yeah, I'm like, it was on the TV when I was 7 and 8, and it didn't have it wasn't Star Trek, so it looked less trippy. So I half paid attention to it at age 8.
When I was taking some notes and I was looking up the parallel, even though I just rewatched it, it said it mirrors an image from Star Trek called Mirror Mirror. You guys familiar with that episode?
Oh yeah, but I
Oh
sitting
yeah.
here like, does I mean I'm just like not, I don't know, that feels really different to me for some reason. But I guess it is like, yeah, it is the same basic concept, isn't it?
For mirror image, yeah, sort of an evil you comes over from another someplace. Yeah,
You
that
grow a
works, I guess.
goatee, so we do
Was
have
Yeah.
the evil version of Brian on this podcast.
was Mirror like when it was like an evil Kirk, but it wasn't the evil Kirk from the Mirror universe. It was like a different evil Kirk,
Well,
right?
there's the enemy
No, that was
within where he
enemy within.
splits into
Yeah.
Right.
Logie Kirk
Right.
and angry Kirk. It's more like
Logie
angry Kirk
Kirk.
than evil Kirk.
Yeah.
The mirror one's fun because we only see like 1 or 2 shots of the mirror Kirk because we spent, you know, we're spending time with Kirk in the mirror universe, but they go back and mirror Kirk is just screaming in the brig, so that's fun. Which is kind of the best
Yeah.
shot of the show because, well, we all like screaming, don't we?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if we recognized our leaders as being insane and we immediately locked them up as soon as we figured that out?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a great concept to
Lock
adopt?
Yeah,
him up.
Mm.
Lock
Instead
him.
of letting them debate on live television, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can debate with batless.
Yeah. You're right.
Or they take mushrooms for the debate. That would also be good. 2 hours before the debate, they have to have mushrooms.
I can't remember if you guys brought this up, but in the episode He's Alive, when you guys did the review of that, supposedly Rod Serling did really not like Dennis Hopper's performance. Like he felt like he wasn't giving it his all, and he's like, if somebody else would have did that, it felt like it could have been better.
Yeah, that was something I in the podcast that we were charting. Like it seems like season 4 is where the new Hollywood guys really start showing up on the show. So sometimes there's like a weird tonal clash from episode to episode, or in the same episode. What was the one where I was like, these acting styles don't even match? Maybe that was Horace Ford. I don't remember, but
Well, the trivia on IMDb basically says that Rod Serling considered that episode the most important of the series, and also says that they received 4,000 pieces of hate mail.
Wow.
And that was another one that was they were thinking about extending into a movie. But I was thinking the new Hollywood thing, you know, a lot of method actors, the whole idea is, you know, De Niro, especially in the 70s, barely does anything ever, right? He makes very tiny moves, so but he's doing a great job. You know, Taxi Driver, he's not mugging for the camera and stuff.
Yeah.
So by the 70s, you know, kind of like you are giving it your awe, but you seem like more chilled out. Where earlier, you know, you got to talk in the mid Atlantic accent and give your dialogue as hard as you can, you know.
Yep.
Disappointment episode, you wanted it to be super trippy and it just was not. I guess this is again later things coloring, but having now had 60 years of X-Men right after Mute seems to like not explore the concept very hard when you watch it now. So it's hard because literally it was like the year after that's when X-Men started showing up in the comic book shelves, right? So they wouldn't have known, but now we got the series, we got movies, we got the cartoon, and it's like, yeah, we're starting an X-Men story here and going nowhere with it, which is a weird disappointment for me.
I was a little disappointed by of late, I think of Cliffordville and also what's that other one? I think I scrolled past it
No
by
Time Like
mistake.
the Past. No Time Like the Past.
Yeah, No Time Like the Past, because both of those were plots that Twilight Zone has done better in the past. Pretty much.
They had to hit up that Hitler trope one more time.
Yeah.
They did it twice in season 4. You know?
Yeah. What was it? What's near the beginning of season 2? Where else have we seen Hitler?
Yeah, that was also a Genie
bottle.
episode.
Yeah, Man in the Bottle.
They've done.
I remember.
Yeah, that's the one he was saying was from season 2, I think.
Right.
Yes, Genie episode, and it's like Genie and time travel and Hitler were in that episode, and then here we have that sort of split across different episodes. Yeah, the late season 4 I found kind of, except for the new exhibit, that was a little disappointing.
Yeah, and then of course I felt on Thursday with Leap from Home was a big bump, but
it was pretty good. Yeah,
there you can definitely see some production fatigue, at least as far as the scripts, I guess, and they just had those weird outside scripts, right? What because there were several that just came from not regular writers. Was it Genie and Horace Ford, I think, where it was just like basically written by randos? at
I
least
think
in the
they're based
Twilight
on
stuff.
other material too. We get a lot of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Horace Ford was a TV Playhouse drama 10 years earlier or something. So
Yeah, it was already been done. So
right.
I'd like to see that version of it just to see how the difference is. But it probably doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. It's probably one of those lost to time things.
Right. I mean, that's why I guess some of the bigger Serling Playhouse things from the 50s were later turned into movies. It's like, well, a movie seems a little bit. I mean, that said, was it 80% of films before 1950 are now lost, but it seems a little more keepable, I guess. It seems more real when it's a movie, I guess. So it's a real thing now.
Hmm.
Well, back then, yes, because there was a huge gap in like production quality between the, and now there just isn't. It's now the problem is that series writers don't think anything about what's going to happen in the future, so they drop breadcrumbs and they don't make any sense and they're stupid, and
Yeah, it
that's the
is kind of
problem.
like the idea of telling a story and finishing the story and then worrying about where it goes later seems to be kind of lost these days,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
funny you mentioned the word lost. I think that's like the root problem where it's like lost taught a generation of people how to write serialized things badly.
But it was so enrapturing at the time.
Exactly. It's just, yeah, it's just like that candy I ate last night was so good before I ate all of it. The
And then I
same
had a
damn
stomach
thing.
ache. Yeah.
Whereas like Breaking Bad came out around the same time and that did it perfectly, and those people did not plan ahead. It's just something like somehow they just resisted dropping too many
Well,
like
could you
breadcrumbs.
say could you say what also worked for Breaking Bad is it had shorter seasons as opposed to your network television like
Yeah,
ABC and
yeah, maybe so. I think it just didn't reach as hard and it let things breathe a little bit, and it's just um
It's hard to do serialization and long seasons
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
yeah.
because you
It's
got to
hard to
keep the
do.
interest up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to do serialization when you like absolutely must keep people like hooked
Right.
and like and instead of just make something good and trust that people will be hooked on the good thing that you make, which it's I guess it just boils down to confidence. I don't know, but
That's where I guess
um,
Strange New Worlds has snagged itself a little bit on the Trek scene. It's like, oh, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. It's still a shorter season, but oh, we're not
yeah.
that serialized. But then it ends up kind of like being a little too serialized sometimes.
But
If
then
you're trying to be
also the
episodic.
yeah, but also I think I kind of don't like TV as much as a lot of people do, because there's stuff like The Good Place, which I thought that after season 2 of that show fell off, and I can't find anyone who agrees with me. Like nobody agrees with me. Everyone thinks that the entire show is good, and like I didn't like the last 2 seasons and thought the finale had like weird issues with it.
Yeah,
But
Marco, you and I were talking a few weeks ago about how like I don't understand how people like watch so much TV, like how they have time for that, and then I realized they're not actively watching it because I'm like almost everything I actively watch, right? So
yeah, because it's funny because we talked about that where I'm like, if I do not have to take notes, I will always be doing something else when I'm watching TV. Or if it doesn't have subtitles. If it has subtitles, I won't do something else. But even sometimes if it does, I watched Attack on Titan, which is a very long anime, and like I would just read the subtitles when they came up on the screen and then like turn away and do something else.
anyway, I am finally getting around to my Twin Peaks rewatch. Mark knows why. But
Yeah, I'm gonna do
but
it.
but I am kind of like if I fall asleep like in an episode, I'm like, "Oh, whatever, I'll go to the next one." I may have seen it before, right? So when I get to the new episodes, well, now they're almost 10 years old. When I get to the newer episodes, I will watch them uh wholeheartedly. And this is pertinent for a Twilight Zone because we're gonna do the Peel show, which is 2 10-episode seasons of course no
Spoiler.
serialization, but I've already said on this podcast several times. But yeah, that's 2 seasons, 10 episodes each. So there's not that much to it. That's one of the reasons, yeah, let's just do it. It's newer, get attention, we'll be through it
Now, did you
quickly.
decide to nix the Force Whitaker version and the '80s version, or are you just
Oh
jumping
no,
way
80s
far
is
ahead?
definitely on the table. I just decided I
Okay,
don't need to do them chronologically
okay,
because I want to do night. I want to wait before I get back to Night Gallery. It's like, oh, you get a little more Rod after like doing some other Twilight Zones for a while. But
yeah.
so
Well, also, I think a lot of the 80s series is remakes of episodes from this series, but not as good,
it's
right?
not too thick in them.
Um,
But there's a couple, but it's not that thick in them.
there's like two or three, I think, and then 2002 one did the same thing. They tried to
Mhm.
remake Eye of the Beholder. I'm not going to give away the spoiler if nobody's seen that, but they
Uh-huh.
did such a bad.
Mm.
And they try to remake Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, which again had another
Yeah.
terrible twist, but I'm not going
And
to
I've seen
spoil
a
it.
couple of the
Well-
Peel ones, and actually you'll hear this when you listen to the podcast. Actually, you guys might have if you've done the Patreon. When I was talking to Mike about 20,000 Feet, and he started talking to me about the Jordan Peele remake, and I just like blanked out. He's like, "Oh, the Adam Scott." I went, "What?" And then after the podcast, I looked at it, "Oh, I did watch this one because I read how they changed it." I was like, "I did see this one. This one just did not stick in my mind. A few of the
Was
Peele ones did, but
was Adam Scott the passenger?
yeah."
Wow.
And now
Okay.
it's getting podcast messages or updates or something.
What?
It's like there's no gremlin. They've changed it to something
Oh.
else. That said,
I don't want to see it now. There's no gremlin. It's got to
I'll
be a
watch it for
stupid
Adam
looking
Scott.
gremlin.
I don't care.
I've seen at least 3 episodes of the Peel one that I really liked, but it was
Yeah.
funny because I just blanked out. I don't even remember how I responded in the end, but I'm like, I actually didn't know what he was talking about for a minute. And then after I was like, oh crap, I even saw this and it just did not stick in my head.
Wow.
I'll
I'll
avoid the Peel one, but I'm going to have to get to it now if you're going to be covering it. I'm just going to find a way to
Yeah.
watch it.
well, it's
I don't know
like
if you can get it on disc. You might have to get Paramount Plus or something to
No,
watch.
Paramount Plus took them off. They're not on Paramount Plus anymore.
What? Of
probably
course
on
they did because
Tubi.
they're Paramount Plus. They're just
What they did
dropping
something that
stuff
we
left
don't
and
like.
right.
It's probably on
That's-
Tubi or Roomy or
They can't
Booby.
spare a
Freebie.
couple gigabytes on a hard drive in a
Rubies.
data center
It
somewhere
is
just to
here
leave
for
the
me.
episode.
It is on
Oh,
here.
I see. Okay.
It is on that flash drive, so no
but
problem.
Now I
yeah.
gotta go search out those flash drives.
No,
Yeah,
actually, it's on this flash drive. I remember it was a red one.
Okay. Okay, I gotta
But-
find a red flash drive somewhere.
But relating to like the remake problem is that I'm sure I've said this on some podcast, but several years back decided I was going to do a next generation rewatch, and I decided to just alternate it with a original series rewatch of Star Trek, and that was like completely mind destroying because a lot of early episodes of Next Generation were like during the writer's strike, so they were just like remaking original series episodes but making worse. So it's like you're just watching the same thing over and over, and it was just completely like I couldn't deal with it. It was the worst idea.
You like to mock time? Now it's code of honor. Sorry,
And that was
and that's
season
not even
one,
a straight.
too.
Well,
Yeah, that was season one.
season one did most of those, didn't it? Yeah, 2 was the
Yeah.
strike. So one,
I
I think
didn't-
they were just like
No, the season 2 was just short because they
Yeah.
ran out of scripts.
it ended with Skin of Evil, right? Which was
No, it ended with Shades of Grey.
Shades
the
of Grey,
regular
right. Skin of
flashback
Evil was the
episode,
Yar
which
one.
was
Yeah, okay.
ridiculous.
I didn't make it to season 2 on that rewatch.
Oh,
So-
season 2 has some great ones.
I know. I've seen season 2. I'm just saying on that rewatch where I was alternating with the
Oh,
original
you
series.
stopped alternating by then.
I
Okay,
stopped.
got you.
I stopped all of it. I was like, I can't do this. I completely stopped.
Remake
Anyway.
this. Oh.
Twilight Zone, yes.
But
Twilight
there's-
Zone episodes that nobody will remake, like season 4.
I guess the big thing on TV is don't binge your TV. Like as we're doing this, Star Trek Prodigy has been out for 10 weeks and I'm on episode 10, right? I could have binged and watched all 20.
I
So
just
didn't-
binged the last fourth of it the other day.
Yeah,
Last
yeah.
night.
As I get to the end, it might happen, but as of now, I'm pretty much like right where I would be, right? So, Twilight Zone is taking me 5 years to, or not 3.5, whatever. It's taking years to watch this Blu-ray set, isn't it?
Well, you had a writer's strike in between that too.
Oh yeah. But it's going to be 3.5 years when we're finished, I think. So I spent 3.5 years watching the Twilight Zone. I didn't binge it, which I know people do the marathons. It's fine. That's great. But I do like kind of metering them out this way and just doing it over time. I'm not into binging TV, I guess.
Me
I
neither.
feel
I
like
like
you-
watching one. Sorry, Ed.
I feel like you absorb more when they're drawn out as opposed to all at once. I feel like if you have like a week to soak in everything, like you watch it week by week by week, I don't know. It seems to absorb better in my mind, whether if I just watch everything all through, I just
Is
binge
that
out
the
whole
appeal of
season.
podcasts, that they are just going to come out at a measured pace? Maybe that's why people are listening to podcasts. To tell us if that's why. But no, it's for me. It's like, oh, Thursday I'm going to listen to these guys, right? Monday I'm going to listen to these people because that's when they put out their episode.
Yeah.
So, although I have binged a few, you find a podcast you like and then you go back like listening to all the back episodes. So,
Yeah, I only
I-
find myself binging if it's like something from the past I want to catch up on, but if it's a new show, and like say Netflix does their drop where they drop everything at once, it's like I'll just watch, one episode at a time. I'm not going to do it all.
Any other thoughts that anyone wants to throw out about season 4? I guess this one's a little shorter, but it's also half as long a season, so
Well, I
it's
couldn't
not
answer your question on what I thought should have been better that didn't trip enough for me. I don't know. I couldn't. I just know that I don't like Horse Forward and I don't like A Dream of Genie. I'll probably never watch The Incredible World of Horse Forward again, especially I don't have to do a
I don't either.
podcast on it. I was one and done for me. It triggered me. I don't know why it triggered me that episode.
I mean, I'm looking at a list. Okay, which ones would I watch again? In His Image, I'd watch again. Valley of Shadow, He's Alive. I mean, I'd watch Mute again. Death Ship,
Yeah.
Jess-Belle. I actually, Sean, I guess I'm on with you. I probably don't want to watch Miniature again. A Printer's Double, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No Time Like the Past. Sorry, Brian, you said at least you suggested it might be your favorite. I could take it or leave it. The Parallel, I actually liked a lot less when I saw it this time. I Dream of G, don't need to watch. New Exhibit, yeah. Cliffordville, probably not. Horace Ford, probably not. Thursday, of course, yes. Lady Anne, maybe. The Bard, no.
New Exhibit, I feel like it was a good annual Halloween watch. It's
Yeah,
good like
yeah.
Halloween time, like a fall episode.
Yeah, it's such a, I mean, I guess it's more, yeah, it's just such a good creepy episode, which, yeah, Jess-Belle gets into Satan, so I guess that has a little bit too. But
And then I've heard people debate, did the mannequins really do it, or the wax figures, or did he do it? I've heard people debate all the murders.
both are correct, right? That's a great thing about it. You're correct either way.
Yeah. I hope we don't get a
But-
YouTube strike for saying the M word. I just said, I know there's certain words you can't say, so hopefully that.
It's
will
like
for
there's a
peace.
mannequin of the guy at the end. So if the mannequins or the wax figures killed in the beginning, then maybe the wax figure of the guy kills at the end because wax. Well, now I'm making myself confused.
When you're a good enough murderer, you're rewarded by becoming a wax figure yourself by the Twilight. So
Really?
That should have been the closing monologue.
Yeah. Weird non
If you live long enough to be a good killer, you might end up in the Twilight Zone as a wax figure. No, that was too long.
You either die a guy with wax figures who doesn't kill people, or live long enough to become a wax figure of a guy who also kills people in the Twilight Zone.
Man, we should have been on staff for this. Okay.
Or it would be funny, the guy didn't do it at all, and he just got turned into a wax figure. It's like, oh, we thought he murdered people, and yeah.
Actually, this is something I haven't been able. I mean, it's probably out there somewhere, but I am sitting here wondering. Now we're talking about modern TV writers' rooms, right? Even when someone's name's on the script, like maybe like someone on staff actually wrote it, or rewrote it. And I am wondering if the Twilight Zone is pretty much like, here's a script from this writer, or if it does go through a writer's room. I don't know enough about early 60s television.
Or does Rod steal people's ideas sometimes?
A few times. I seems to give him credit.
I know one
sometimes.
time he got sued. I forget what episode it was, but he had to pay somebody some money because it was like, because
I think
people
it was
were,
the
I
fifth
think
season one.
I think in the early days, yeah, I think you are right about that. It might be fifth season. In the early days, people were, I think he would let people submit, like there was either just a bunch of people that submitted scripts, or he
Yeah.
let people submit scripts, and he would like pick certain ones.
Yeah, they rejected the script and they ended up writing one with at least a similar name or something. I don't even know about the same plot. But it's
Yeah.
the one called Sounds and Silences that's coming
Yes,
up.
I wanted to think that, and that's why I put my name on that one, and I
It's
got
famously
okayed.
one of like 3 or 4 that did not get syndicated, along with Miniature had some sort of problems like that. Which
Remember
is the
with
thing about
Miniature,
Miniature. When I first saw Miniature, they re-released it finally in the 80s, and they decided to colorize the dollhouse scenes
Yep.
to make it more interesting. And that's my first exposure.
Well, they were
to it.
actually
So I was
trying
really
to show off colorization.
Yeah,
They're like,
show
here's
off
what
colorization.
can do.
Did
The
Ted
way
Turner,
that
was he the
nature.
person that did that?
maybe I
Ted
don't know.
Turner thing?
You'll never have to see Casablanca in black and white again.
I mean,
How
okay,
dare
are you guys
Ted
ready?
Turner.
No,
Are you guys ready for this?
no.
A
Now I am.
determination process for screen credits. First season production companies submit proposed credits. About a third of these are challenged and taken to arbitration. This process asks all writing parties involved to provide evidence and supporting statements to help determine how much of the final product was each writer's work. However, several of the WGA's arbitration decisions have been criticized by WGA members, including how the process handles existing source material is adapted to the screen. It goes on for a little
Mark
bit
got bored
more.
reading it.
Yeah, I did. It's kind of it's boring and also depressing because you think about like you write something and then your name's on it, and then it sounds like somebody could just be like, actually, this evidence says blah blah blah, and you have to like go to court over it or whatever.
Or you watch and it barely has anything to do with what you wrote, but your name's still on it, which I guess you get money that way.
They
And that's
keep, they
nice,
keep
but
one idea, just change everything else.
yeah,
Yeah,
And you
but
get the
it seems-
residual check.
Yeah.
It
I
seems
guess you
like
feel like
this
you're getting away with
system-
something in that
yeah.
case.
But it seems like the system dates back to like the 40s. So, I guess it depends on how much. I would think that Rod Serling would like a small writer's room, but like who the hell knows?
Yeah, yeah. Well, by now he's living on the East Coast, so yeah, who knows? I guess we'll wrap this one up for today then. That was a question mark there, by the way. Okay.
Will we?
Yeah.
Will we wrap this up? Are you sure we're gonna wrap it up?
Oh no.
This has been slightly more than the length of a season 4 Twilight Zone episode, so it is appropriate.
There we go. Fully
Yeah.
appropriate.
And it's been shorter than some of the season 5 ones you've been putting up on Patreon. It's a lot shorter than that too. But hang on, I will say, I haven't listened to Nightmare at 20,000 Feet yet, but that one did need a long discussion. That is one of the top 10 episodes,
I'm gonna have to look on Patreon to see
Of
how much.
course.
I think there's a good 15 minutes of not talking about
Then
the
what was
episode at the start.
What was the one? Was either you or Brian or somebody else was? It's like a 20-minute like off topic before you guys even started the episode.
Both of these guys have had that.
I like it,
that
though.
happened
I
not
like
that long ago.
We'll do
I
it.
like it.
Anyway, if you want the
Oh.
weird side of that and hearing those episodes, head over to Patreon at Podcastius, and you can hear us talk. You can hear Mark and myself talk about guitars for 20 or synthesizers for 20 minutes if you want, and then talk about Twilight Zone. You get that. We just finished up podcast 1999 where he talked about Space 1999, and after a few supplementals, we will be going ape. So you dig apes, they're coming. What else?
That's right. Our retrospective on Jane Goodall coming to that podcast really soon.
That's right. Films and Filth. We talk about really good movies, really bad movies, according to IMDb. And there goes my brain. For gamers, there's Luke Loves Pokemon, Game Show, Monster Mash. Okay, I'm finished with that. I hope I hit the 30-second mark so people that hear it all the time just go, and then now they're here.
If you really want to search for content,
Well,
Matt makes his own music. Go ahead and plug it, Matt.
Oh
You
yeah,
plug it on here. You only plug it on Disney, don't you? You only plug it on the other one.
I randomly plug. But yeah, that's rovingsagemedia.bandcamp.com. I will brainwash you with binaural tracks or play folk rock or do weird electronic music of some kind.
And I have a question about that. Have you been putting those in the end of your Cult Disney episodes? That's you, right?
Yes. Everything at the end of all these podcasts. Oh yeah, you don't listen to this one on the normal feed. So yeah, I'd stick my songs on it. Because when I started podcasting, I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to be good at talking or anything, so I can at least like stick my music in it, and then people will like the music. I actually went back to listen to our Dune episode because I was listening to Blank Check's Dune episode, and I forgot back then I would like stick music in the middle of the episodes too, and now I'm like, oh god, that kind of was annoying in a way, but anyway, on to season 5 of Vashti Mateys.
wait, are you condoning piracy?
Yes.
Good.
There's going to have to be some piracy involved if I can't find a Twilight Zone with Jordan Peele. It'll have to be.
Dun, dun.